Hey guys, it's your boy Mr. Webb here. I'm gonna help you guys out with like the cultural aspect of Southwest Asia today. Um, it's really just a quick PowerPoint. I think it's like 4 or 5 slides. Um, the big homework is going to be after you've taken the quiz. Clearly, is you are going to pick a group. I have them listed down below here. So Bashar al-Assad, the Kurds, ISIS, Al Qaeda, Israel, and the Supreme Ayatollah of Iran. Then you are going to look at them and figure out who they are, what's their goal, who they're in conflict with, and why. You have to include the link where you got your information. It should go without saying, don't copy and paste this stuff. I don't want to see what you can copy and paste. I want to see what you can like break it down for me. By the end of the day, you should understand that not everybody in Southwest Asia is an Arab, and that there are a bunch of poorly developed nations, but also some very well developed nations inside of Southwest Asia. So, you need to understand that there are a bunch of different cultures in Southwest Asia. The Mesopotamians, which were located about right here-ish in Iraq, in the Fertile Crescent, um, had a bunch of different groups come through. It started off with the Sumerians, then the Assyrians and the Hittites and the Babylonians come through, and eventually the Persians from Iran take over this area. The vast majority of people that live in Southwest Asia are Sunni, so 80%. 4 out of 5 of them are Sunni Muslims. But as you can see here in Iran, there are a bunch of Shiites. Furthermore, there are Kurds. So right up in through around in here, you're going to see it more in the other one, the next slide. There are a group of people that do not consider themselves to be Arab. They're their own tribe, um, and they don't fit into anything. So if you stop and you look at this for a second, there's a bunch of different groups here. Most of Syria and Jordan and down through Saudi Arabia and Oman and Kuwait is going to be what we would consider Arabs. These are like Bedouin traders, people that moved throughout, um, like from place to place to place, nomadic people historically that once were, they're not anymore, that are Muslims. Iran does not consider itself to be Arab whatsoever. They are Persians. To the people of Iran, to be considered Arab is an insult. This is going to create a lot of tension. We're going to talk about more. So, as you look at the Middle East or Southwest Asia, especially right on the border of Iran and Iraq and Turkey, there's this group of people called the Kurds. They are a nation, 100% a nation. A nation is a group of people with a shared group ideas. They just don't have a state. Like there is no Kurdish country. And the United States has fought wars in Iraq and Iran with the Kurds' support. And the Kurds have always thought that we would support them in developing their own nation. But in reality, the United States never had any like real desire to do that. So you can look at here throughout Iran, Iraq, and Turkey. That's a big chunk of area that is mainly Kurdish, but they have no nation. Like they almost have like their own government, their own everything. They just don't do it. They control individual oil fields. They control individual like towns and things like that, and they refuse to accept the countries that they're in as their government. They're armed. Like they have weapons that the United States has given them when they fought wars with everything else over the course of time. But it's kind of nuts. It's kind of like the Wild West. There are a bunch of different clashes of leadership. So in Syria, you have Bashar al-Assad. He's the president of Syria. Iran has fought many wars with Syria and Iraq because they are Persians They're led by the Supreme Ayatollah. Um, the Then out of in the middle of Syria and Iraq, you have uh, ISIS here, and then you have the Kurds who are fighting against all of them. In short, there are about 5 or 6 different ethnic groups fighting each other. The really interesting thing about this is all of these people hate Israel. So Israel, which got dropped off there after World War II, is extremely unpopular. Um, they all hate Israel. At one point, they all declared Egypt, Syria, Iran, everybody declared war on Israel, and Israel annihilated all of them nearly instantly. Israel has nuclear weapons. Israel has the backing of the United States and all the weapons the United States has in its power. Um, Israel has something called the Iron Dome system. People shoot missiles at Israel all the time, like just to try and blow up their cities. And so Israel just figured out a way to blow up the missiles mid-air. It's actually really interesting. Um, all of these groups hate each other. All these groups are in constant conflict with each other. There's so much conflict that we don't even hear about it anymore inside of the United States because people in the United States just don't really care. Not that they shouldn't, but it's just the United States again picks and chooses what it thinks is interesting and what it cares about. Now all of a sudden, if oil fields and things like that get like destroyed or our gas prices go up, then all of a sudden it becomes a much bigger deal. So there's a reformation of economies. So you're dealing with down here this picture of like a traditional like village, mud bricks, things like that. And then you look at Turkey, which is developing into like a major, almost European style economy. So Turkey is almost considered to be a European country. Iran is extremely well developed and has, and Syria too is extremely well developed, but has these fluctuations of being very involved in the global economy and then completely breaking back out. Iran right now is at like being sanctioned, so being like punished severely by the United States. No one will trade with Iran because they're afraid to make the United States mad. So you can't even like bank in Iran. So they're really being crippled economically. And again, this all goes back to Iran hates one group or is trying to get a nuclear warhead. The United States fights back against that economically. Iran and like the sanctions that we've been imposing there have been crushing them. Iraq has been crushed because of the recent wars. It used to be a very, very, very powerful economy. Afghanistan was never a powerful economy, but what small growth they had has been crushed by the war. So what you guys need to do is you need to pick one of these groups. Like we've talked about a lot of different groups, and I've given you like an not even an inch deep. I've barely scratched the surface of most of these groups. I want you to pick one of these that you think is more interesting and scratch a little bit more. um, Type that up, put that into the Google Classroom class assignment, and just see what you think is interesting. Hope you guys like this. Good luck.